My next two speakers I'm honored to introduce and to work with. They are 9/11 family members Rosaleen Tallon, who lost her brother, firefighter Sean, and Sally Regenhard, that lost her firefighter son, Christian. I am honored to work with these women because I must tell you how brave they are in the face of the media smear campaign. You know, after 9/11, I chose this fight. I chose to do this, but they were chosen. You know, and you see if the 9/11 family members that oppose the mosque, they're called racist. So it's a second wave. It's a second wave of the 9/11 attacks. Let me introduce to you Rosaleen Tallon and Sally Regenhard.
Good afternoon. It is so beautiful to see the American flag. Hold them up high and hold them up proud. Yesterday evening, we had a beautiful ceremony in St. Patrick's Cathedral in memory of all the 343 firefighters who gave their lives on September 11th. And also for the firefighters and all the first responders who are still suffering and dying as a result of 9/11. 9/11 is still happening to those men and women and to their families. They are still suffering. Yesterday evening at the cathedral, the giant doors of the cathedral swung open, and 343 flags stormed into the cathedral. It was as though they were all coming back. They were coming in and they were reminding us that they died because they were American. And you know, my brother used to say that in the fire department, when you died in the line of duty, you became a t-shirt. Well, they became flags that day. And I'm very proud that my brother is represented by the American flag, because I think of all the soldiers, all those brave men and women who are coming back with that same American flag draped over their coffin. And many of those men and women signed up because of what happened to our loved ones on 9/11. So 9/11 is continuing for so many families across this country. Soldiers' families who are getting that phone call feel the same as we felt in the weeks after 9/11. I remember hearing the slogan, "Never Forget," in the days following 9/11. And I kind of thought to myself, is that really necessary? Never forget? How could anybody ever forget what happened down here? How could anybody ever forget the carnage, the horror, the destruction of our lovely, innocent family members? How could anybody ever forget? I was so wrong and so naive not to understand why that slogan was so important. It was so wise and so necessary and so prophetic and so relevant. There are so many instances that I am seeing around me today that are indications that the politicians, the media, would have us forget. When terrorist attacks are called man-caused disasters by an administration, it is not a man-caused disaster. It is a deliberate terrorist attack by jihadist Islamic extremists. And why aren't we allowed to say that? I'm not saying... We are not saying that all Muslims perpetrated the acts of 9/11, but there were some Muslims that perpetrated the acts, the terrorist acts of 9/11. We must never forget that. We attended a memorial today of waterfalls and trees. We must bring back some remnants of the destruction that happened that day. We must bring back the sphere. We must bring back the damaged facades. We must bring back pictures of those people that we lost, not just mere names. We must not bury the remains of the 9/11 unidentified victims 7 stories below ground at ground zero. How dare you, Mayor Bloomberg? How dare you bury those beautiful souls? Not on our watch. I ask all of you out there today to stand with us on that fight, because we must have them above ground as a reminder, not of the buildings we lost, of the people we lost. That's what 9/11 was about. In addition to the memorial, one of the gravest insults to this slogan of never forget was when we heard that a mosque was proposed for so near our site. A mosque on the precipice of slaughter of Americans. This cannot happen. We must respect what happened there. There are mosques all over New York City. None of us ever did anything, no harm to those mosques. This is not about bigotry. This is about love, honor, and respect. There is no way that the people that are proposing to build this mosque can guarantee me, guarantee Sally Regenhard, the mother of Christian Regenhard, a probationary firefighter and U.S. Marine like my brother. They cannot promise her, and they cannot promise my mother, and they cannot promise any of the family members out here that there will not be people in that mosque who are proud and happy about what happened to our loved ones on 9/11. It cannot and will not be built, because I will lay my body on that property before they build a mosque at ground zero. And you can take that to the bank, Sharif Al-Kamal. I will lay my body down in front of that building, and I won't be alone either. I will not be alone. Because we will lay it down for all those people who died on 9/11, and we will lay it down for all those first responders who are still dying, and we will lay it down for those soldiers who are dying for our freedom. It will not happen. Because Sharif Al-Kamal, you have to know as an American what happened here. What are you? Are you an American? Are you an American, Sharif? Because you would know why you don't put a mosque here. You don't allow jihadists, Islamic extremists to come here and gloat. They cannot have their halal cooking classes, and they cannot swim. They will not swim, and they will not celebrate their culture here. Not here. Anywhere in America, anywhere in New York, but not here. This is a special place. My brother, Christian Regenhard, my brother Sean Talon would have saved Muslim, Jew, Christian, Hindu. It didn't matter what color, what shape. They would have put anybody on their back and brought them down. That's not what this is about. But the media would have us feel like bigots. And when we talk about jihad, that we're not allowed to mention that all of a sudden, because we're mentioning who did this to us, that we're bigoted. I look on that as being totally intolerant of telling the truth. What about the tolerance of our American values of honoring our hero dead? That's an American value. That's an American value. Another thing that the people building this mosque, they're saying that they have the right. And you know, they're trying to say, God, how could these people claim they're so American when they're not going by the right that they have to build? This isn't about the right to build. This is about is this really the right thing to do? Now, let me tell you one little thing that's so beautiful about my little daughter. You know, it's hard to explain to her because she's wondering why mommy is a little angry about this. And the other night at church, she said to me, I tried to say, you know, mommy, I can forgive, and I don't, it has nothing to do with the Muslims at large. But mommy, has to speak up about the mosque. So Judy, in her innocence, said to me, and so eloquently said, Mommy, I understand because you want these people to do the right thing like you want me and Sean to do. It's just about doing the right thing. And it's so simple. So I'm so pleased to see all of your faces out here. And it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing on 9/11 to come up here and talk to all of you because we've been through such emotions today. But there's no better place to be than speaking up for my brother and for Christian and for all those people that lost their lives. So thank you for being here. I forgot to say, this is my mother, and she lost my brother Sean Patrick Talon from Ladder 10. He was 26, and he gave his young life. And he was a Marine, and he was a firefighter, so he was a great combination. And we have such a friend here, Sally, whose son was also a Marine and firefighter, Christian. She's going to say a few words.
Thank you, Rosaleen. It's really an honor to stand beside these wonderful people. After 9/11, we all acquired a new family, and that was the family of grief. Whether it's the Talon family here from the Uniformed Services, the fire department, whether it's Nellie Brzezinski, who lost her son in the towers, we all share the grief. We share the woundedness, we share the despair. 10 years has done nothing to erase the hurt, the despair, and the loss that we feel. I'm here today for one reason. I'm not here for a political reason. I'm not here to denigrate anyone. I'm here because I'm asking the people who want to build and the people who support the construction of the Mosque and Islamic Center, I'm asking them for one thing. I'm asking them for tolerance. The families of the victims have been accused of being intolerant, of not tolerating religion. That is not true. This is not about religion. This is about an already victimized group, which are the 9/11 families who have suffered the worst victimization, the death of their children and their loved ones. We're asking for the tolerance of understanding that we're hurt, that our sensitivities are offended, that we're already wounded, and we cannot tolerate to be wounded again. However, there's much precedent for understanding the woundedness of a culture or of a certain religion. Over 25 years ago, in Auschwitz, Catholic nuns who did have good intentions wanted to build a convent so that they could pray for the souls of the people who were murdered in the Holocaust. However, and rightly so, there were many Jewish people that felt offended, they felt threatened, they felt uncomfortable by having this, by having a cross there. Pope John the 23rd, instead of insisting that the Catholic Church would do this, regardless of who they hurt, he had the understanding and the tolerance to understand how the Jewish people felt. And he asked his nuns to please not do this. That's building bridges. These people who want to build the Mosque and Cultural Center talk about that this is going to build bridges. This is going to bomb bridges as much as the World Trade Center was bombed on 9/11. Finally, I'd like to say, tolerance is a two-way street. 9/11 families are asked to tolerate the construction of a mosque and cultural center. But I am asking all the people who support that, including the politicians of this area, I'm asking them to make tolerance a two-way street. Right now, the tolerance is a one-way street going from City Hall to Park Place. We need to change that. We want understanding. We want sensitivity. We are not bigoted people. We're asking for the same tolerance that these people are asking us for. Please, there are many empty storefronts in the city of New York. There is much real estate where this center can be built. Not here, not on the so close to the sacred ground, not here so that every time we go down here, we won't have to be wounded again and our sensitivities. I'm asking for that. And finally, I'd like to say, so many of these people who are supporting this project want to be mayor. They want to run for political office and be elected again. I want to remind these people, there's no such thing as being mayor of Manhattan. There are 5 boroughs out there, and the people support the way we feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you all very much.